Thanks everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jorge, for joining us. This is going to be our episode, our Agile Leadership Series, and today we're here with Jorge. Do you go by your entire name every time? Jorge Luis Castro Toribio.
Well, I prefer just Jorge Castro. It's a short
Jorge,
version of my name.
Jorge Castro. Welcome, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you
Thank
for agreeing to speak with me and agreeing to speak to my group of students here. I'll go ahead and apologize in advance. I've got three children that are running around here right now, and so they may start screaming or crying at any moment. So you guys just ignore them like I ignore them when they start up. So no
Okay.
problem. So Jorge, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm very happy to be here to be part of this interview. To have this conversation with you. Yeah, I'm very happy about it.
Wonderful. I want to start things off the way I start off most of my interviews, and I'll start that by asking, Jorge, when did you fall in love with Agile?
I think that since I got my first job,
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky because when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
I got my first job, and actually that company used Agile. They had Scrum teams, they had some DevOps implementation and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from the beginning of my career, 13 years ago, I fall in love with Agile.
Wonderful. And
So
so what did you go to school for, Jorge?
system engineer.
Okay. And so when you came out of school, how difficult was it for you to land your first job?
Well, actually, it wasn't difficult,
Mm-hmm.
because at that time, actually the market was demanding a lot of system engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lucky because I got a job, you know, easy. So
Easy. So you came straight out of school and it wasn't too difficult for you to land your first role. So where was your first job at when you started working?
I started to work as a developer,
Okay.
as a developer in a Scrum team.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my clients were from, I think, Wisconsin. It was a company from Wisconsin, but I was working remotely to
Mm-hmm.
them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Writing code and so forth.
Mm-hmm. And so what coding language were you coding in? What type of product were you working on? You don't have to get specific if you
Uh,
can't.
yeah, sure. I worked with .NET,
Okay.
from Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
and also with web applications.
Okay. Sure. And so we talked a little bit about it before we started recording, but you're in and originally from Peru, right?
Yes, that is my country. I'm from
Sh-
Peru.
Sure. And so you were working from Peru for a company here in the United States?
Yes, actually, I did that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to travel to US and spend a few months working there,
Mm-hmm.
and also in India. But
Mm-hmm.
basically all my job was in Peru, working for US companies.
Okay. And so how has that experience been for you? One of the, fundamental principles of Agile, right, is like face-to-face communication. And so how has
Yes.
it been for you in your career, for most of your career, work remotely separated from the organizations and the teams that you've been a part of?
Yeah, actually, it was a challenge. Sometimes I had a chance to travel to the country, to US, and have this kind of face-to-face conversation. It was awesome,
Mm-hmm.
to see the people there, have the meetings. But the other part, the remote way, it was a challenge for me,
Sure.
especially for agile teams, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
when you need to collaborate with people or working with people and so forth, and
Mm-hmm.
especially for Scrum Masters and agile coaches.
Sure.
It was a challenge, but unfortunately, something that is key for me was a team agreement, because at the end, my team in US worked with people from Peru,
Mm-hmm.
people from India, people
Mm-hmm.
from Germany. So we all have the same problem, right?
Right.
Different times and so forth. So something that was very important was the team agreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having those meetings in this schedule, having this retrospective, working together, turn on your cameras, right? and something like that. It was very important for us.
Sure. So Was that kind of a part of your routine every time you joined a new team with a new organization that you guys created a team working agreement, or what did one already exist that kind of lent itself to being a good framework for working with a remote team?
Well, I think both scenarios, right?
Okay.
In some cases, when I joined a team, they already has the working agreements, and
Hmm.
basically I was a new team member, so I followed the rules of the team. But in other cases, we need to create them, right? We need to have a meeting to discuss these kind of topics, elaborate agreements, and so forth.
Hmm.
So, for example, for that approach, as part of that approach, we applied Scrum or Kanban, to
Hmm.
try to improve the ways of working, as part of that as well.
Sure. So tell me about how long into your career as a developer did you make the pivot and transition over to being a Scrum Master?
I think I spent 4 years
Hmm.
as a developer and also as a tester.
Hmm.
And then I came to a Scrum Master role and Agile Coach role.
Hmm.
So yeah, 4 years. So actually my current experience is more or less 13 years.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have 9 years of experience working as a Scrum Master and Agile Coach currently.
Sure. What was the most difficult part about that transition for you going from being a development team member to a Scrum Master slash coach?
A lot of a lot of things, but I think the most difficult one was when you are a team member, right? A developer, agile developer, or agile tester, or whatever, right? In the
Hmm.
team, in Scrum team or Kanban team,
Hmm.
it's quite simple in the way that you have your goals, right? You have your user stories, your activities, right? And basically, in some way, right, you follow the ways of working, right? You
Right.
follow that, right?
Right.
Agreement, so forth.
Hmm.
But when you move to the agile position, your role is different because you are a
Hmm.
leader.
Right.
Yeah, you need to create a framework. You need to work with different peoples.
Right.
Despite of you are not the manager, because you are not the manager. You need to
Correct.
work with people, right? You need
Correct.
to work in one-to-one meetings. You need to take care of continuous improvement and so forth. And that
Right.
part is very complicated because you need to work with people, and people is always very interesting thing, right? Very, very, very interesting working with them, but it's a challenge.
Right. What was it that made you even want to pivot from being an engineer, a developer, over to being a Scrum Master?
Since the beginning of my career,
Hmm.
I took a decision about my next goals, right, in my
Hmm.
career development.
Hmm.
So I decided that I wanted to be a leader,
Hmm.
in my position. So I decided that if I want to be the best leader I can,
Hmm.
I need to I need to collect some experiences, right?
Sure. Sure.
That was my decision. So I decided to, okay, in some period of time I need to be a developer, then I need to be a tester. After that, I think that I can be a leader. For me, Scrum Master position, Agile Coach position is a kind of leader in the team.
Absolutely.
It's a kind of so that is why I decided to move to that position.
And so when you decided that you were going to make that move, what was the first step that you did to make that transition? Was it a certification? Was it a class? Was it just kind of studying different material that was online? What were kind of the steps that led you into that transition?
I think it's a mix of what you said, right? It's a mix of certification,
Hmm.
taking courses, research on the internet about agile, Kanban, and so forth.
Hmm.
But in my experience, something that it was priceless to me,
Sure.
very priceless, was to
Hmm.
learn from my coaches. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
I work at Verizon for 6 years.
Hmm.
Working at Verizon was amazing. Was until now was the best experience of all my life about work.
Wow. Okay.
So actually at that time when I was working at Verizon was running the digital transformation program for the
Hmm.
global company.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
in Verizon Latin America and US and so forth. So as part of that transformation, Verizon had this kind of group of coaches, agile coaches, right? So I work with them directly. So it was terrific, what they did with the company in terms of culture,
Hmm.
strategy, OKRs, agile at scale, and so forth. So I learned from them to improve my agile skills as well. So
Sure. I want to dive a little bit into the OKRs, right? So I've got some Scrum Masters that are listening to us. I've got some that'll be listening to us in the future that are either preparing to make that transition to a new position, and OKRs isn't something that every organization does, right? And so even if someone who's making a transition from a different career industry over to Agile, they may not have ever heard of OKRs. So tell me a little bit about what OKRs are, and then which OKRs you guys tracked and how at Verizon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, OKRs is a kind of set of steps, set of practices that you can follow to design objective, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, if you are an enterprise or if you're a company and you want to define some goals for your company, right? And then you want to align your company to those goals, right? Your
Hmm.
team of teams, so forth. You can apply OKRs for that, right?
Sure.
OKRs allows you to define your objectives, define your key results, which are the indicators that you can have to measure how good or how closer you are related to your goals,
Right.
and then you can share your OKR to the company so that people can create their own OKRs to align to the company strategy.
Hmm.
So that is OKR for me. And actually, at Verizon, they were very useful for us, right? Imagine the situation, Victor. Imagine that you're Verizon
Hmm.
and you want to run this digital transformation program in the global company, teams
Hmm.
from Latin America, from Germany, from India. We work with more than 1,000 people at that moment, right?
Hmm.
More than 60 product teams, a huge team, right?
Right.
So OKR was very important, right? Since in the strategy, as part of the strategy, we define some OKR for DevOps adoption, for quality products, some OKR for Agile Transformation as well.
Hmm.
So, and it was very useful because it was our first strategy. So after that, we share with the team. So all the transformation in different locations were aligned to that OKRs. So it
Sure.
was very useful for us.
Good. It's funny that you mentioned it, but now that you're going a little bit deeper, I actually remember I've also worked at Verizon
Awesome.
as a salesperson though, right? So
Oh,
yeah, funny, funny. So you talked about being in DevOps and working on a DevOps team and different organizations kind of working to adopt DevOps. I just want to go back really quickly. OKRs stands for objectives and key results. So if anybody wants to like do some Google searches on that or find out more information on that, OKR stands for objectives and key results. So back to DevOps. Tell me about, and I see that you're actually an ambassador for the DevOps Institute, right? So
yes.
tell me in your words, what is DevOps?
Okay. For me, DevOps is a mindset, and also a set of practices,
Hmm.
engineering software practices,
Hmm.
to speed up your delivery, right? With quality, with security, and with scalability. That
Sure.
is DevOps. Yeah, I think in simple words, that is DevOps for me.
Okay. And so that's it at its fundamental level because I know that we've had some students here who have wanted to know more about DevOps and been very interested in diving a little bit deeper. And if anybody has any questions right now for Jorge, you guys can go ahead and drop them in the chat. If we go a little bit deeper into that definition, how does an organization give me some ways or some principles that an organization that wanted to implement DevOps could put into practice? Like what would that look like at the team level?
At team level, okay. For example, testing, right? Testing is a kind of, well, testing is a practices that every team does, right?
Sure.
So, for example, right, in DevOps, we have this part of DevOps, which is that continuous testing,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically this set of practices that involve that you need to run your tests continuously, right?
Mm-hmm.
In each checking of code, in any changes that you do to your code,
Mm-hmm.
you need to run your tests to verify the quality of your product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those tests involve tests from different levels for unit testing, integration, regression, functional security, performance, and so forth. A lot of tests, right? So continuous testing is okay. You need to take all your tests, run them continuously as part of your quality process, right?
Mm-hmm.
To verify your build. So that is one way, right? You need to create your pipeline, right? Your DevSecOps pipeline, which is a
Mm-hmm.
kind of mechanism to deploy code, right? Then you need to run your automated tests continuously for each change of code.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you can apply DevOps at a team level, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is an example of that.
Sure. And so now if we talk about maybe at an organizational level, what are some ways an
Okay.
organization can deploy DevOps?
I think for that approach, the keyword is operational efficiency.
Sure.
I think that is the keyword, right? Because at the end, whatever you are going to do with DevOps, which is basically besides the mindset, right? Collaboration between the development, operations,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth, right? Thinking of the customer and so forth. Besides that, is all the engineering part, right? Which demands a lot of automation, right? For
Mm-hmm.
deployment, for testing, and so forth. But at the end, if you ask the question to C levels, right?
Right.
If you told them, "Hey, I'm doing DevOps with this deployment, with so forth," they are going to say, "Okay, but what is the value, right?
Right.
What is the outcome for the company?
Right.
Operational efficiency, right? For me, DevOps is operational efficiency for the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cost saving, time to market, quality, and so forth.
Okay. Good. Have all the organizations you've worked at been ready to implement DevOps?
Well, actually, Verizon was one. I think most of them were ready to that, but of course it demands a lot of work, right?
Right. Right.
So I think my first recommendation, if you want to apply DevOps in your company, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to run some kind of assessment. You need to check what is the first status, right, of the situation about DevOps practices and DevOps mindset in your company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Besides, you can take the results, and depending on that, you can prepare your plan, right, to adopt new ways of working for DevOps, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So after you left Verizon, where did you go next in your career?
Well, after Verizon, actually, I I spent all of my time working as an agile coach. That
Sure.
the experience at Verizon was amazing. Working with C levels, with strategy, with OKR, with agile with Safe, because
Mm-hmm.
Verizon decided to implement Safe at that moment. All the technology part, right? It's really nice working with people from different cultures, from different countries, because
Absolutely.
they have different experiences, right? Different culture, different experiences, and different skills as well, right? People from India are very skilled in terms of technology, right? They are awesome about technology.
Right.
People from maybe from US, I admire your facilitation skills, how you say, your ways to explain some ideas, to sell an idea, right? It's amazing how you do it, and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at Verizon, I took all these lessons from all my coworkers, and that is why I'm applying with my customers right now. Each time that I have the challenge to work with a company, in the DevOps transformation or Agile transformation, I apply all that ideas and concepts, right,
Mm-hmm.
from my experience. So, mhm.
So I see that you've done a lot of guest speaking over the
Yeah.
pandemic, right? So what is generally the topic that you speak on when you go out and you speak at these events?
Well, actually, I have a few, right? But basically, my main topics are agile testing,
Mm-hmm.
agile testing, continuous testing, DevOps in general, adopt DevOps at large enterprise, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And about Agile, some kind of flow framework stuff. Scrum talks about it. Scrum talks as well. Yeah, actually, I was, as I said at the beginning, I was lucky because in my career I had a chance to work with technology, with
Right.
DevOps and so forth,
Right.
but also with Agile, so basically that is what I share with my talks, right?
Sure.
DevOps, Agile testing, agility, and so forth.
What type of advantage do you think it gives you when working with the team to actually have started on the other side of the, I don't know, agile table, right? As a developer, so you kind of know some of the pains and the struggles that developers
Yeah.
go through when organizations are coming in trying to essentially change or shift the way in which they work. A lot of times for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches who don't have that technical background, it's difficult for them to break through and really have meaningful conversations with the developers that they work with. What type of advantage do you think that gives you, and is that something that you would maybe suggest that other
Yeah,
Scrum Masters or
absolutely.
other developers kind of walk that path as well?
Yes, yes. That is a one recommendation that I can give them.
Hmm.
Um, that's maybe I'm saying that I'm not saying that you need to be an expert about technology, right? Deployment, code, and so forth. No, but I think it's important that you know some kind of principles, right? Some a big picture of what is that technology, right? This kind of um, technology part, right? I think it's quite important.
Hmm.
But about an advantage, yeah, actually, this is a kind for me at least, it's a kind of advantage because, for example, right, if you want to coach a team, right, you can do it in a traditional way with agile facilitation and so forth, right?
Hmm.
But also something that I like is, for example, technical agile coaching, right? Actually, there are some technical coaching in the market,
Sure.
people from Europe and so forth. So I try to learn from them, and they implemented frameworks about it, more programming, right? Extreme programming and so forth. They took those practices,
Hmm.
and they create some frameworks, right? And I follow them, right? So, for example, in my case, I can work with a team in both scenarios, right? For example, if they have a conflict, I can apply my coaching skill, right? My coaching
Right.
skill.
Right.
But if they have some problems with, for example, with behavior-driven development or with test-driven development, I can
Hmm.
also help them, right? So I can help them in both situations. I'm not an expert, of course, but at least I can give them some guidelines, some recommendations about how they can fix that problem, right?
Sure. One thing that interested me about your profile as well is so I'm originally from Nigeria, and I see that you were one of the guest speakers at the Agile Nigeria
Yeah,
conference. So tell me how you got involved with that, and kind of what was your takeaway coming out of that. I'm not sure. Did you actually travel to Nigeria for that, or was that given remotely?
remotely,
Remotely.
remotely.
Okay.
Unfortunately, remotely.
Sure. Did you have an opportunity? So one, how did you get involved with that? But two, kind of what was your takeaway about Agile in Nigeria or in Africa, and just what are your general thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first, as part of my mindset, I believe in sharing is caring, and that is one quote that I follow.
Hmm.
And also a quote that I always share in my talks is, everybody has dreams,
Hmm.
so please share and help more,
Right.
right?
Right.
I think that is quite important. That is my
Absolutely.
quote, right? So as part of that, I remember that one day, people from Agile Nigeria, sent me a LinkedIn message saying, "Hey Jorge, we want you to join us at our conference. We follow you on the LinkedIn and so forth." And I say, "Yeah, absolutely, amazing, right? Share is very nice." So
Right.
I think what Agile Nigeria, actually Agile Africa, is doing in terms of moving this mindset and practices is awesome.
Hmm.
It's very nice what you are doing. But in general, right? What Agile Nigeria or Africa Agile is doing, it's quite amazing. I had a chance to have some conversation with different people from the community. What I can say is amazing job. The conference, the meetups, the groups, the post on LinkedIn, all the information, it's amazing. So I recommend you to everybody that if you want to learn more about Agile, please follow these kind of groups. Agile Nigeria, Agile Africa, those guys are doing amazing things, right? So follow them.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks for that. So tell me about the Scrum Masters that you coach and that you see at work regularly. Tell me a little bit about some of the skills, whether they be soft skills or hard skills, that maybe you feel like they're missing or they should be working on, right? And so I want to get some of that information for either some of the people who again are pivoting from one position to the next position, and they want to know like how can I get a competitive advantage against what some of the other Scrum Masters are doing? Like where are the areas that Scrum Mastery as a whole needs to improve, and what can I work on to be a kind of a better leader for my team and a better candidate in the market.
Yes, absolutely. First one is if you are a Scrum Master that and you are going to work with technical or development teams, I recommend you to try to also improve your technical skills, right?
Hmm.
So that is one recommendation that I can give you. Well, actually, that I give my Scrum Masters,
Hmm.
to try to improve the technical skills. Again, it's not about being an expert. It's just
Right.
about, have some kind of knowledge about, the what is DevOps, right? What is continuous testing and so forth, right?
Hmm.
How the development work, right? Since the checkings of code and the production, basically. That is one. Second is about being a coach. For me, the Scrum Master is a team coach, right?
Right.
So being a coach, right? Try to improve your coaching skills, especially working with the product owners. You are the coach of the product owner.
Right.
The product owner issues are your issues. You are the
Right.
coach.
Right.
So he or she's part of your team, right? So you are her coach. So you need to improve your coaching skills to, you know, to give some impact, right, in,
Hmm.
in that role as well. And number three is about new ways of working with the guys, right? If you do the same each time, it's going to be maybe some kind of boring, if you do the
Right.
same retrospective all the time, if you do the same stuff all the time, maybe you are not going to have the impact that you are looking for in your team members, right?
Right.
So try to think out of the box and innovate your teaching skill, your mentoring skills. For example, gamification. I love gamification. I feel passionate about it. I apply gamification in all my projects. So believe me, if you create some kind of game so people can learn, people can reflect about about the cycle or so forth,
Hmm.
it's a good way to engage people.
Sure.
Gamification, I recommend you.
Give me some examples. Give me maybe two or three examples of some of the games that you like to play with the
Absolutely,
squads
yeah.
that you
That's
work with.
that's my topic, man.
That's your thing, gamification. All right, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Verizon. At Verizon, again, right? Imagine that challenge to work with more than 10,000, sorry, with more than 1,000 people from different countries
Hmm.
in a remote way.
Hmm.
A huge challenge, right?
Right.
So imagine that you need to be a coach and you need to make them to adopt new ways of working for DevOps. A huge
Hmm.
challenge. Gamification. At Verizon, we created the DevOps Cup, which is a
Hmm.
kind of global tournament with all the teams played that tournament, and
Okay.
yeah, and it's a kind of a global tournament, right?
Okay.
So all the teams work together, they play together, and they get some points depending of the maturity of the DevOps practices in their teams and their products. So
Mm.
it was an amazing thing, right? It was very useful for us because meanwhile the team have fun, they were learning from each other,
Hmm.
right? While they adopt new ways of working. So it was awesome, the DevOps Cup at
Awesome.
Verizon.
DevOps
Yeah,
Cup.
that was one at enterprise level, right? Because
Hmm.
it was a tournament for the entire company. For example, in a team level, well, something that we did at a team level at the beginning, but then it was escalate, was the innovation days, right? Time
Hmm.
to time, one time per month, we separate this date to have the guys share some pizza, share some snacks, and think about a problem, right? Whatever problem in the company, a process problem, a technology problem, whatever problem that you have,
Hmm.
try to have a team, but not only with your teammates. You need to create a team with maybe people from, yeah, globally, marketing, from
Sure.
whatever, right, from different areas, and you need to work together, learning from each other, and try to create a solution for one specific problem for the company.
Hmm.
And it was very funny because we share some pizza, we have some fun, and so forth, right? um, that is one, right? The innovation day game, right? People present ideas, we vote for the ideas, and we have a winners, and it was very fun.
And then you
It's a way
implement
to,
that idea of the winning person or team.
yeah, yeah, of course, absolutely, yes,
Nice.
yes. Well, as I said, that program, that this game, the innovation game, At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning was for a team level, but it was very nice. It was very success. So we decided to escalate that for that company,
Mm-hmm.
So it was very nice. And my third game, something that I really like, is the OKR Pokemon game.
OKR Pokemon game.
Pokemon
Okay.
game, yeah. So imagine that instead of having your Pokemons, right, with your Pokemon Go, right?
Yeah.
Imagine instead of having Pokemons, you have your OKRs. So you are in charge of your OKRs. You need to develop your OKRs. You need to mature your OKRs. You need to take care of your OKRs,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
that was the idea of the game, right? Instead of having your Pokemons, you have your OKRs
Sure.
with different characteristics, with different key results, right?
Mm-hmm.
And different ways to feed them, and make them grow, right? So that was also another ways to gamify OKRs, for example.
Fine. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Jorge, if you were to do a retrospective on yourself, right? And on your career, you look back, you say you've been in this for how many years? Six,
13,
17 years. So if you were to
13, 13.
13?
Yes.
13. So if you were to retrospective the first 13 years of your career, what Kaizen would you identify for yourself that's going to be the thing that you want to work to continuously improve moving forward, right? What is the retrospective item that you're going to bring into the next sprint of your life or of your career with you and say, you know what, this is the thing that I could do better at, that I want to be better at, that I want to improve at for the next 13 years of my career?
Wow, that is a tough question, Victor. But thank you for asking. I think it's a very nice question. I think my C-level coaching, C-level coaching skills.
Mm-hmm.
I have some teammates, and I see them and I learn from them. Um, they are amazing working with C-levels. They read, the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
They have a strategy, how to deal with these kind of managers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that is something that I want to improve in my career. Working with C-levels, coaching C-levels, or something like that. For
Sure.
example, about that, I read the book from Jonathan Rosenberg, Alan Eagle, and Eric Schmidt from Google.
Mm-hmm.
The book about the life of Bill Campbell. Bill Campbell was the coach of Silicon Valley, the coach of Jeff Bezos, the coach of no of Eric Schmidt, and also Jonathan Rosenberg. So yeah, I admire Bill Campbell. Because being a coach of a team, it's of course a challenge, right? But imagine this: being a coach of Steve Jobs, it's a huge challenge, right? So Bill Campbell did that, right? He was a coach of Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs. He was a coach of Silicon Valley. So yes, I think that is something that I want to improve. This kind of coaching thing, but at these levels, right?
Sure. And so what does that look like? How do you do that? Is it just continue to read books? Are there conferences that you attend? Are there coaching programs that you pay for and attend? Like, how does one build up their professional coaching chops in this industry?
Again, I think it's a mix about what you said, right? I think knowledge is everywhere, but you need to find them. And I think yeah, of course, you can get a lot of knowledge from conferences, from these kind of meetings, right? Not right now, I'm learning from you, right? From your thinking, for your questions. I think you can get some information in books, so you need to read books. I know that maybe there are people that don't like, but you need to read books because you need to learn from the experiences from other people, right? But I think that is something quite important. And also, for me, it's quite critical that you need to be part of the community, right? But not only be part as a listener, also as a contributor, right? If you have a chance to, hey, today I'm going to go to the meetup for Nigeria, or for Africa, go for it. Or maybe today I'm going to listen to this talk in Germany, in Berlin, go for it, right? I think that is quite important. The knowledge that those meetups, those groups are sharing right now, it's amazing. So I think that is also quite important. At least that is something I'm doing. I'm trying to research about those specific agile groups or coaching groups that are sharing those real experiences working from the trenches, with C-levels and so forth, and I'm learning from them. Of course, I learn from them and I put in practice. And actually, that is my first advice: experiment. Don't wait for the kind. Don't wait for the formula, for all the information, or the plan, and so forth. Let's take the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
organize your ideas and experiment. That is also my recommendation.
Sure. So I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile and I'm looking at some of the certifications that you've got. And so I see that you've got, let's see, keep saying five more. So I don't know if I'm going to get to the bottom of them all.
I have a couple.
You might have more certifications than me. So I see you got your CSPO. I see you have your CSM, and I'm gonna try to focus in on some of the
Yeah,
Agile certifications, right?
master
Certified
project.
Agile Project Leader. I see that you've got Team Kanban or Kanban Practitioner, Kanban System Design, Disciplined Agile Workshop, your IC uh, Certified Professional Business Agility Foundations. Of all of the certification classes that you've taken, which one would you say you feel like you've learned the most out of, and that you apply those skills or apply that content in the work that you do on a day-to-day basis?
That is a tough question.
Okay.
Mm,
Is there so maybe not necessarily the one, but are there any that stand out to you, right? Are there any that you're like, I
yeah,
needed that one. That one helped propel my career from here to here. The things that I learned there are so applicable at so many organizations that I've been a part of.
I would say the basics. For me, the basic of a Scrum Master, I think it's
CSM.
quite important. Yeah, the basics. And actually, since 13 years ago until now, I still apply Scrum Master framework. Sorry, Scrum framework.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I play the role of a coach right now, but of course, when I work with teams, if I need to, play as a Scrum Master, I do it. So I think the basics Scrum Master certification was very useful for me until
Sure.
now, actually.
Sure. And that's something that I coach and kind of preach to a lot of my students is that learn the fundamentals, master the fundamentals. If you can master the fundamentals, it will take you so far in this game, further than all of the certifications will, because at the end of the day, it all comes back to the fundamentals. And
Yes, absolutely.
I want to ask you, so for example, myself, when got my first I got my first Scrum Master position with only my CSM, right? With only my CSM. And so it wasn't until after I started working that I started adding more certifications to my repertoire as I saw kind of what I was lacking in the workplace, right? If I struggled in this
Okay.
area, okay, I need to go learn about this, I need to go train, I need to go get certified. What is your take on certifications? Do you do them before you need them, or do you think people should wait until to the time in which they need those certifications?
For me, certifications is about your needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your needs. If you need, for example, right? Some time ago, I was working with some teams that they focus on flow, right? So for that approach, Kanban, so I took some Kanban certification and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think that is approach. You need to take a certification that you are going to apply.
Right. Right.
I think that is the message, right?
Right.
So it's not about taking a lot of certification. It's about taking the ones that you can put in practice or you
Right.
need in your business, right?
Right.
That is my approach.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Jorge, I think that's about it for you, man. I don't think I have any more questions for you, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with me this evening. I'll go ahead and go over to our live studio audience now. And so I'll ask, does anybody have any questions for Jorge or any input? Jorge, if they want to connect with you on social media, either on LinkedIn or are you on Instagram or anywhere else? How can they
Yeah,
connect with you?
and LinkedIn, you can look me in LinkedIn. So yes,
Okay.
I'm very active in LinkedIn.
Okay, good. All right. I don't see many questions or any questions coming in, but I feel like people have enjoyed the conversation. I'm getting some thumbs up and some direct messages that they've enjoyed the confirmation and the information. Again, I just go back and say, like, one of the things a lot of Scrum Masters struggle with is that technical piece. And so I really appreciate you kind of giving that feedback that, learn something technical. If you're not a technical Scrum Master right now, it's okay for you to go take classes on that, to go read on that, to go become more comfortable with those conversations so that you can meet your development team where they need to be met at.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got one question about the name of the coach for Silicon Valley. What was his name and what was the name of his book?
Bill Campbell. The name of
Bill Campbell.
the name of the book was the $1 trillion Coach.
$1 trillion coach. I need that coach. $1 trillion coach. Okay. All right. Sounds good, Jorge. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking this time this evening. I know it's a little bit late where you're at, but I appreciate you taking your time, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you. I know I got something that I'm working on for you, so I look forward to maybe hopefully having some good news for you here in the near future.
I hope so, Victor. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation.
No problem.
Just to share a final thought
Hmm.
is, guys, if you have a dreams, if you have a dream, please follow your dreams, experiment new things, research about what you have in the market, learn from other people. It's okay saying I don't know, but I can learn.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's my message. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Jorge. One more question came in before you
Yeah.
go. So when do you realize that a position has served its purpose for you and it's time for you to move on to your next role? How do you make that decision?
I think it was part of my plan, as I said, right?
Hmm.
Since in the beginning, I decided to, okay, I'm going to spend some time trying working as a developer and a tester,
Hmm.
but after that, I want to move to the leadership position. So it's a kind of personal approach in my
Sure.
case.
Sure.
It was my plan.
I think the way that I handled it is once I feel like I've outgrown a place, right? There's a certain learning curve that people can be on once they join an organization, right? And so when you first join an organization for at least the first, I say 60 to 90 days, the learning curve is going to be very steep, a very steep learning curve, just trying to understand the culture and understand the people and understand the team dynamics. And then once that learning curve kind of levels off, then hopefully you're able to maybe become a change agent in the organization, right? And so now hopefully you can start, raising the learning curve of the organization to kind of what you understand or what you know as good Scrum or good Agile, regardless of whatever framework it is that they choose. And so hopefully if the organization follows you there, or at least if your team follows you there, right? And then if you're able to enact change at the organizational level, hopefully the organization follows you there. And I think once you realize that maybe an organization is no longer ready to change and you're not willing to stand still for that organization to be stagnant, maybe then
Yeah.
is the time for you to start trying to make a decision about, okay, either do I need to speak to someone else in the organization at a different level that can help drive the change and adoption that needs to happen, or is the organization finished changing for this point and it's time for me to move on to find someone that's willing to change and help grow me, right? Because I I see a lot of great scrum masters that are stuck in stagnancy at an organization that's a dinosaur that's not going to change, right? And so they
Yes.
get in when you're at an organization that's not willing to change, sometimes, and it can be by accident or intentionally, you start making enemies, you start losing friends, you start being ostracized, and it can be a difficult existence in an organization like that. And so if an organization isn't willing to adopt the change that you're trying to bring, and you've tried it from a lot of different angles, then maybe it's time for you to look for an organization that actually wants to do and be agile. Because there are a lot of organizations that don't. There are a lot of organizations that have a
Yes.
budget and need to hire the headcount, but don't have any plans. Like I've had students that I coach tell me in their first week they haven't even gone through orientation, and either the product owner or a manager comes to them and says, "Hey, I've tried this agile thing at another organization. We've even tried it here a few years ago. You know, we're not really ready to be agile. So, I just wish you the best. Good luck." Right. And so it's like,
Yeah.
where am I supposed to go from here? Like, and so, you just kind of got to be honest with yourself about your expectations and what a company is really willing to do and how they're willing to progress.
Yes, yes, that is totally true. About that, maybe something that also I can recommend is, each Agile Transformation has some sponsorship, right? From
Hmm.
different levels. Try to work closer to the sponsorship. So
Sure.
in that way, you can see, okay, these guys are going to support the strategy or not, because you can notice that, right? You can notice that from the beginning, right?